Heather Nova on Viva 2, and you're watching Geschmacksache. The first video I'm going to talk about is for the Beatles. I think the Beatles was probably the soundtrack for my early childhood. My parents took me to see the Yellow Submarine when I was 2, which I'm sure is there in my subconscious memory. And I just remember falling to sleep to the Beatles. You know, I think my parents had really good parties, because I remember often waking up in the morning and having to step over people in the living room. The Beatles were a big part of my early childhood. And so we're going to play All You Need Is Love. The next video we're going to play is Bob Marley. And for a lot of my childhood, we lived in the West Indies on a boat that my parents built. And Bob Marley really sums up the spirit of the West Indies to me. His records were always playing. And also, we used to go ashore sometimes, and the local band would be playing on the dock, and we'd all, everyone on the boats would go ashore and dance on the dock. The local bands would always play only covers of Bob Marley. I think also when I see Bob Marley in live footage, it's so incredible, because he has such a strong and beautiful spirit, and you can see it in his face so easily when he sings. So this is No Woman, No Cry. I remember when I was about 13, and my cousin gave me a tape of Kate Bush. I'd never heard of her before, and it was Wuthering Heights it was that first album, The Kick Inside, and I just finished reading Wuthering Heights, the book, and I thought it was the most romantic thing I'd ever read. And so then I heard this amazing woman singing the song Wuthering Heights, and I was so amazed by her voice. And I would just listen to that tape over and over, and I remember my parents couldn't stand it. They told me they thought it was sounded like an injured cat, because, her voice goes so high. And my mother also, she also thought that the lyric was, "It's me, I'm caffeine free." The word is, "It's me, I'm Kathy, I've come home." So that was funny. And Kate Bush, I was a fan. I've been a fan ever since that record. So here's Wuthering Heights. Hi, we're back, and I'm Heather Nova. And the first concert I ever saw was an REM concert. I guess the first concert you see anyway is a pretty wild experience. But this was about the time when I really started writing songs. It was, up until then, I'd written a lot of poetry. And around the time I saw this REM concert was when I turned from poetry to rock and roll. And this video is really one of my favorite videos, because it's so beautiful and so artistically shot. It's losing my religion. Soon after the REM concert, I saw a Pretenders concert, and it was the first time I'd ever seen a woman rock, which was incredible. Chrissie Hynde was so moving, and it was funny, because I went to that concert with my boyfriend at the time, and I think he thought it was going to be a nice romantic evening out, going to a gig, and instead I had no idea he was even there. I was so focused on Chrissie Hynde and enthralled by the concert, so he was a little pissed off, and I had a great night. This is Brass in Pocket. Massive Attack reminds me of when I first moved to London. It was my first experience of clubbing, going out to clubs and just getting off my head and having a great time, and hearing dance music for the first time. And it was exciting. And Massive Attack was dance music that had real soul. And this is just a beautiful song. It's Safe from Harm. Last year, I went out to Australia to do some promotion, and for a week before, I went and lived in this little tiny cabin right on the beach. And I had just finished touring Europe, and it had been really great, but I was also, my head was so full, and I was tired, and so I went and I lived in this cabin, and this Grantley Buffalo song just reminds me of that, because I would get up in the morning and I'd walk up and down the beach and just be clearing my head from all the touring, and sometimes on this beach, which was probably 7 miles long with nothing on it, and huge surf rolling in, and often you'd see dolphins surfing in on the waves. And so I would just have my Walkman on, and I'd walk up and down. And this was an album I was listening to at the time, and this is Fuzzy from that album. Going to New York is always a pretty intense experience. It's such a full-on place. And when I was there a year ago, we went out clubbing. And in New York, you don't go out to a gig at 11 o'clock at night and go home. The headline doesn't go on until 1 o'clock in the morning. So you're usually out till 4 in the morning. And that's just normal in New York when you go to a gig. So I remember last year we went there, and we went out, and someone said, "Oh, you have to come see this band." You know, it was in a tiny club called the Mercury Lounge, and so I didn't know what to expect. I went in, and they totally blew me away. They were so good live. They were called Scarce, and you know, we actually became really good friends with them, and played a gig with them in Germany on the Big Cat tour. And this is their video for All Sideways. Neil Young has always been a really big influence for me. I've listened to his records from when I was really little because my parents had his records. And last summer I had the opportunity to open for him in Berlin. And it was in this huge amphitheater. There were 20,000 people. And it was such a buzz to be able to open for Neil Young. It was like a dream come true for me. And then the crowd was so big. The whole thing was like almost like a dream. It was amazing. And it was also the first time that my parents came to see me live. I'd been playing for a couple of years live, and this was the first time they'd ever seen me. I guess they thought it was worth the trip finally, because Neil Young was playing too. And so I remember being on stage and feeling about this big, but being so excited. I decided I wasn't even going to be scared. I was just going to be excited. And there were 20,000 people out there. And even then, I could see my parents, like, right out in the middle. And I looked out, and I saw my father, and he had his eyes closed, and he was smiling, and he was just rocking out. And that was the best thing to see. And then afterwards, we got to sort of stand right by the edge of the stage and watch Neil Young and Pearl Jam play. And that was really exciting to see Neil Young. He really rocked. So this is a song from his latest record, Peace and Love. Okay, the last video we're going to show is my video. It's for Truth and Bone, and we shot it last week, and so it reminds me of being very cold in this church in England where we shot it. I shot it with Angela Conway, who I did my last video with, which was Maybe an Angel. And on the last video, we really had a misadventure because we were in Spain, and we were on the beach shooting this scene, and they were using an effect which was a fire right in front of the camera lens to create a heat haze effect. And at one point, the guy went to pour more alcohol on the fire, thinking it was out, and it wasn't entirely. So the whole thing went up, but it was very windy, so it blew this fireball right onto Angela and myself. We were about 10 feet away. And it was like a nightmare. It was horrible. I looked down, and my pants, my silver pants, were on fire. There were flames coming off my pants. And all I knew was everyone was screaming around me. I could hear Angela screaming. And I just pulled my pants off and ran in the water. Luckily, we were on the beach. And it was really, really horrible. And I looked down. I saw that my legs were just bright red, but they weren't blistered, but unfortunately Angela was wearing shorts, and she had terrible burns all down her legs. Thankfully, Truth and Bone wasn't as hazardous as that. It was just a little cold rather than hot. But the video Truth and Bone, we just wanted to shoot it in a very beautiful but simple surroundings. The song is just about, well, it's about just trying to purify something in your life, trying to just get down to the basics of what's important. And so here it is. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed my selection of videos on Geschmacksache. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.